Welcome, Stampers. My name is Lori Staley, Addicted Stamper with Stampin' Up, and I'm an independent United States demonstrator. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Come on in. We're going to have some fun creating a FUNFOLD Christmas card as part of my Christmas in July series. Before we get started, I just want to send a reminder out about the Designer Series paper sale that we have going on right now. There's 9 different patterns. One of them is the In the Good Taste, and that is the double pack. So instead of $21, that is now $17.85. And if you haven't played with that paper yet, I have to tell you, it's amazing. It's all textiles. You've got wood grains, you've got tile, you've got some fabric patterns in there. It is a carryover from last year's catalog, so you may have been playing with this one, but I think I'm on my 5th pack, so I really, really love that paper. But then a lot of our new ones, right? 8 of our new Designer Series papers, including the Tidings of Christmas paper, is on sale, and those are on sale for $9.78, regularly $11.50. That sale does run until August 2nd, so make sure that you take advantage of that, because stocking up on pretty paper is almost a requirement, but stocking up on pretty paper at a discount, that's a great deal. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention is that I am doing a Stamp with Lori Christmas bingo. That is going to be on July 22nd at 7:30 right here on YouTube. And we're going to play 4 games of bingo. I have 5 fun projects that you'll be able to make. You'll get a goodie bag with a value of over $25, all for your registration fee. So make sure you check that out. I'll put the link for that in the comments below. You can get all the details there, and we would love to have you join us for that on Thursday, July 22nd. And then, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to check me out on Facebook. I have a great Facebook presence out there. I'm live 3 times a week on my Facebook page, and that is Lori Staley, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I go live Tuesdays at 2 with usually a tip or a technique of some type. Then Thursday morning is just come hang out with me. We'll do coffee and cards, and I make 3 projects there. And then Sunday is my mystery event. That's called Come Stamp Along with Me. And that morning I send out the supplies that you would need if you wanted to stamp the projects that we're making. But of course the projects are mystery projects. And we usually do 2 of those, and at least one of those is usually some kind of a fun fold. So you can go back, see some of the pre-recorded videos that are out there from previous lives, or just join us for one of those and check that out as well. And again, that's Lori Staley, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Okay, so let's start with our project. So I did mention that it was a FUNFOLD Christmas card. It's also a sneak peek because we are using the Christmas season and the Painted Christmas Designer Series paper. So it opens up like this. Whoops. And then like this. How cute is that? So it almost looks like you have a framed image here, and then you just open like that. So this is a real fun fold. It's a pretty easy fold. And of course, as I said, I'm using the new stamp set that will be coming out August 3rd called Christmas Season. So you have your holly, your greenery, your pine, and of course your pine cones. And then it, of course, has a coordinating, oops, I have extra ones in there. Couldn't decide on what colors to use. Coordinating die set. And, of course, we cut out the berries and the pine cones, some of the greenery, some really fun labels. These you can put in the corners of your labels and run your ribbon or your baker's twine or your linen thread through. But I love sets that have the different shapes for the labels because we're always looking for something different to put our greetings on. So let's get started with this. The other stamp set that I did use just for the Merry Christmas on here is the Returning Perfectly Plaid. And this is in our annual catalog, and that Merry Christmas is what I used out of that set. And I am using Cinnamon Cider and Early Espresso inks, along with some of the Simply Elegant metallic trim and the gold gilded gems. So I think that's everything we're using. Let me pull my paper pack in here and we'll get started. Oh, and we're using Stitch So Sweetly. If you watch me at all, you know that that is one of my all-time favorite die sets. That one and the Scalloped contour dies now. And you can pair some of those together and it comes out really nice. I have just a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of real red cardstock folded in half, of course. So we're going to give that a crease with our bone folder. I like to have nice sharp creases. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab a piece of that painted Christmas paper. Isn't that pretty? And we're going to put this on here. But here's my tip for you. If you try this, the seal is a little too wide for the die cut. So I'm going to use some Tombow liquid glue just on the very edges. And I don't want to go too heavy because I don't want it to seep out from under. But that way I'm staying pretty close to the edge and I should not have any interference with the die cutting. And ask me how I know this, because the first one I did, I used my trusty seal. And of course, I had a horrible time getting it apart. So I'm going to give that a beat to dry. I'm going to bring in the basic white that creates the center fold, right? And this is just 8 inches by, I believe it's 5.25. Yes. We're going to score this at 4 inches. Push that cutting blade out because I don't want to cut. And I don't know about you, but I have done that a time or two. And 6 inches. And don't worry about the measurements if you want to make this card later. All of the measurements, supplies, etc. will be listed beneath the video in the description area, along with that registration for bingo. And also, I will give you a sign-up form if you'd like to be on my newsletter. Keep in touch with everything I have going on and everything Stampin' Up! Has going on. All right, so we're just creasing this. It's a hill and then a mountain fold. And I do it both ways. I want to break those fibers down so that this lays as flat as I can possibly get it to lay, right? All right, so there we have that piece. Again, while that dries just a little bit longer, I'm going to go ahead and put this pretty piece of designer series paper. This is actually the back side of what we're using on the card front. And that is mint macaron, and it's white and it's light, so I'm not sure, but it's holly leaves and berries on there. So we're going to go ahead and mount that. Now here I can use my trusty seal. And it almost feels wrong when I'm putting the adhesive on this, like, oh, I'm putting it on the wrong side because we're using the bolder side for our card front. All right, this is probably ready to go, so let me grab our die cut. And stick around to the end because I have, you know what, I use the Stitch So Sweetly for that particular image, but I did use the color and contour. So that's what I was saying. You can absolutely marry these two frame sets, if you will, together. So we're going to grab the color and contour as well. And I used the next to the largest die for this. So that is a great set as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to run this through the die cutting machine. I'm going to open this up, put this down on here. I don't want that to slip and slide, so I'm going to use a little bit of Post-it note tape. And that looks pretty even to me. So we're just going to make sure this doesn't slide as it goes through the die cutting machine. Now my die cutting machine sits right over here to my left. So rather than try to bring that into camera, I'm just going to bring my paper over and run this through. this back in and take that Post-it note tape off, maybe. There we go. So you can see that we have that real narrow border, which is actually more narrow than seal. So that's why the Tombow liquid glue is your friend on this particular project, or your fine tip glue, or whatever you have that gives you a more narrow line of adhesive. And then these two just come apart. Okay. And this I'm going to use on that other card I want to show you at the end. And here is our red frame that we have behind our focal image. So we're going to work on this now. And I just have a piece of soft seafoam. That we're going to mount right in there. And I measured that out right between the stitched lines so that it does fill that background. And then I did already cut the Stitch So Sweetly die. I'm going to make sure I'm stamping on the correct side. Not that I wouldn't flip it over if I made a mistake, right? But in this particular instance, I don't have to do that. All right, so we're going to start with our pine cones, and I just have, oops, not the vanilla, I have some basic white scrap here. Grab the pine cone images. So this is a two-step stamp. We have a larger one and a smaller one. The larger one, or the more solid, we're going to stamp in the cinnamon cider. Okay, and then we're going to come back in with an accent in the early espresso. And we will be die cutting these as well. And those stamps line up so easily, so that's a great two-step stamp set there because they do really line up very nicely. We're going to grab the coordinating dies, the seasonal labels. We need the larger pine cone. And let me die cut those very quickly here. It's the little things that you do in your studio or your stamping space that make such a difference. It wasn't very long ago that I realized I needed more space on my table than I had because I had all the goodies around me that I might need when I was filming. And so I grabbed an old TV tray, you know, one of those old wooden ones that you can stand on the floor, and I set it up to my left, as I said, with my die cutting machine on it, and it's perfect. It is absolutely perfect. All right. So we have our two pine cones, and we're going to go ahead and just kind of put those where we want them while we stamp our Merry Christmas on here. And again, that Merry Christmas comes out of the carryover set Perfectly Plaid. Did not want to do it in that color. I thought I grabbed the red. Let me grab the red and try that again. And I must have had a little bit of intuition. Let me clean the stamp too, otherwise our red won't come out very red. I do that. I lay my images on there so I have a better idea. There, that's much more the color I wanted. Where to position my stamped greeting. One of the pine cones is just going to get mounted flat. And actually, I think I mounted them both flat now that I say that. So let's bring that in. You could absolutely do one on a dimensional, but I did it this way because I am going to add that Simply Elegant trim bow. And for that, you get the gold metallic and the silver metallic trim. And I'll tell you a little secret, because this is wound onto the cylinder. When I start playing with this, I typically just take my fingers down it to help straighten it out. It makes it a little less kinky as you're trying to, especially if you're trying to tie a bow. So I already did that because, you know, tying a bow on camera never really seems to go the way you think it should. And we're going to put that bow onto a glue dot. I'm not quite used to, I should be by now, but I'm not quite used to the glue dots being on the opposite side of the paper. So I'm taking my knot to the glue dot, and then I'm putting that right there at the top of my pine cones. So you can see this card comes together fairly quickly as well. And see, I told you I would turn that die over if I needed to, and it looks like I did. So we have this layer. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this before I mount it to the inside. And we are going to, I'm going to stamp that in red, I think. This one I stamped in the garden green. So we're mixing it up today, and we're using red on this one. And I think either one works just fine. Okay, may this special season be wrapped in joy and love. I think that's a really nice greeting. And we're going to bring back in the cinnamon cider. This little pine cone that you see right here comes out of that same Perfectly Plaid set. And I thought that was tying the card front in with the inside of the card. This would also be a really cute accent stamp to put on your envelopes. I always like to coordinate my envelopes with my projects. I'm going to bring this back in. So this is just going to get layered in here like a regular layer would, because it is, again, my seal just disappeared right in front of me. It is our inside of our card as well as our mechanism for our FUNFOLD. And now the way we're going to make sure that this gets lined up is we're going to close the card front. And we're going to bring this back in. Okay. So I am only going to put adhesive right there. So I'm going to keep it closed because that gives me my guide to where to apply the adhesive. And this would be a great opportunity to use your Seal Plus because, of course, anybody you give this card to is going to want to do this a lot, right? Because it's fun. And there we go. There is our project. I have one embellishment to add, and that is our Gilded gem. Let me grab that, and then I'll show you that other card that I created using the Designer Series paper, because you don't want to waste the beautiful Designer Series paper, right? There we go. So one in green, one in red. Leave me a comment. Let me know which one you like better. Don't forget, if you're new to my channel, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button. And you can also tap that bell so that you'll be notified of any future videos that I load. This is what I call Make It Monday. I do one of these every week, and it's always something new. Sometimes it's fun folds. Sometimes it's just really pretty cards that we're creating in my studio. So let me show you this other card that I did with that cut out designer series paper from the front of the card. And look at the pine cone. The pine cone turned into a tree. As I was creating this, I'm like, that looks like a tree. If I flip that upside down, it looks like a tree to me. So I used a lot of the same products. Of course, there's the Gilded Gems. There's our Merry Christmas. Flipped this over, and I used Evening Evergreen and off-stamped Garden Green. And I did add some of the red double-stitch satin ribbon that we have in the annual catalog. And I don't know if it shows up on camera, but I also used the Wintry embossing folder. And this is a double pack. This goes through the mini embossing machine. And I just ran it through twice because I knew that most of it was going to be covered, so that break I could cover with the ribbon. So I just think that looks like a tree. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well, because I think that's fun to be able to use stamped images for more than they're intended. I often tell my regular customers to, when they get their catalogs, you know, flip it upside down, look at it from every angle, because you never know what you're going to see in there. So I hope you enjoyed those cards today. If you don't have a demonstrator and you're looking for one, we have new catalogs coming out, as well as a new celebration starts on August 3rd. And I would be happy to work with you to get you some catalogs, so you can reach out to me. Also, if you are wanting to place an order and you don't already have a demonstrator, this is my website, addictedstamper.stampinup.net. Here's my July host code. And when you put a minimum $25 product order in on my website using that host code, you will earn these cards for free. These are what my Just cards look like for the month of July. And we have a Christmas card in there to continue the Christmas in July theme. So you would receive the card kits for just postage, and that's about $3.26 usually a month if you're not local, for porch pickup. And you also receive a emailed color photo PDF to help you in putting the projects together. And if you don't have the stamps I used, and really it's just these two that have stamped images, the rest are just greetings, then you can certainly substitute anything else that you might have. So thanks so much for watching today. I really enjoyed hanging out with you, and I hope you enjoyed the projects. I'll be back next Monday with another Make It Monday, and I hope you'll join me again. Take care. Bye.